Welcome to Rare Breed Brotherhood. What makes someone truly intimidating without even trying? Not in a loud, aggressive way, but in a calm, quiet way that unsettles people deep down. That's the presence of a Sigma male. He doesn't chase status. He doesn't compete for approval. He simply lives on his own terms, and somehow that alone shakes entire circles. Most social settings have unspoken rules. People adjust their behavior to be accepted, to rise, to feel important. They put on a version of themselves that fits the moment. But Sigma males don't play those games. They stay consistent. They don't bend to pressure. They don't need a spotlight to feel powerful, and that disrupts everything. Why? Because their self-control exposes how much others depend on attention to feel seen. Their independence reminds people how much they've been relying on validation to feel worthy, and their silence often says more than all the noise around them. This isn't about arrogance, it's about alignment. Sigma males know who they are, and they don't let the crowd change that. And that kind of steadiness is rare, so rare it becomes uncomfortable for people who are still figuring themselves out. If you relate to this, take it as a sign that your difference isn't something to fix. It's something to respect. You weren't made to blend in. You were built to move with purpose, even if no one claps. Keep being the one who doesn't follow the script. The world may not always understand it, but it will never forget it. Let's dive in deeper, brothers. Number 1, they refuse to play the victim. You know what really throws people off? Someone who refuses to play the victim. In a world where oversharing your struggles has almost become a social currency, Sigma males walk a completely different path. They don't sit around waiting for sympathy. They don't collect pity points. They deal with pain the way most people only wish they could, privately, calmly, and without broadcasting it to the world. We live in a time where saying, "I'm going through something," can get you attention, likes, or even a little power in social circles. It's become normal to wear pain like a badge. But Sigma males don't do that. They can go through hell and still show up like nothing happened. Not because they're pretending, not because they want to appear strong, but because they know healing isn't performance. It's personal, it's quiet, it's work done in the dark. Imagine someone losing a job, going through heartbreak, or getting betrayed. Most people would rush to vent online or tell everyone who'd listen. But a Sigma male? He's already working on his next move. He's studying, he's sharpening. He's turning that setback into a stepping stone. He's not interested in making others feel sorry for him. He's focused on not staying broken. That kind of behavior makes people uncomfortable. Why? Because most folks expect a performance when pain hits. They expect someone to complain, to cry out loud, to need comforting. But the Sigma stays silent, and that silence says a lot. It says, "I'm not here for your approval, I'm here to rebuild." And that quiet strength? It exposes just how much others depend on being seen as victims to feel validated. Sigma males challenge that. They show people what it looks like to stand back up with dignity, not drama, and that's something you can't fake. That's why they're feared. That's why they're rare. Number 2, they don't beg for love, power, or belonging. Most people are chasing something. They want to be loved. They want to be chosen. They want a seat at someone's table so badly, they'll compromise their dignity just to stay in the room. But a Sigma male? He's not chasing anything. He's not starving for attention, for titles, or for approval. That alone shakes people, because when someone doesn't need you, they become impossible to control. In everyday life, you see this all the time. Think about the guy at work who never joins in the office politics, but somehow always delivers results. He doesn't gossip, he doesn't flatter the boss, he just does his thing and goes home. And yet, he's the one everybody keeps an eye on. Why? Because he's not playing the game. He doesn't need to be part of a clique to know his worth or take relationships. Most people settle. They chase people who barely care just to feel like they belong. They stay in situations that drain them just to avoid being alone. But Sigma males would rather stand alone than beg to be included. They don't chase love, they attract it. And if it's not genuine, they walk away without looking back. This kind of independence makes people nervous, because so many connections today are built on emotional neediness. People stay in circles not because they feel aligned, but because they're afraid of being left out. But a Sigma male brings the table. He builds his own world. He doesn't ask for a seat. He creates space for himself wherever he goes. And when someone can walk away from love, from power, or from a group without flinching, they reveal a truth others are scared to face. That most people aren't connected by love or loyalty. They're connected by fear, fear of not being seen, fear of being alone. Sigma males expose that without saying a word. That's what makes them so rare. And that's why people fear them. Number 3. They make authority figures nervous. There's a certain type of man who makes authority figures uneasy, and it's not because he's loud or rebellious. It's because he doesn't flinch when someone flashes a title or raises their voice. That's the Sigma male. He listens, but he doesn't submit just because someone holds a higher position. If the respect isn't mutual, he keeps his distance, quietly, calmly, and without fear. This makes people in power uncomfortable. Think about school, for example. Most students will nod along with a teacher even if what they're hearing doesn't make sense. They'll smile, agree, and try to stay on the teacher's good side. But the Sigma male will raise his hand and say, "That doesn't add up." Not to challenge for drama, but because he values truth more than approval. Suddenly, the teacher isn't the one with all the control anymore. You see it at work too. The boss might be used to employees who say yes to everything, who laugh at unfunny jokes, who stay quiet during meetings just to avoid conflict. But then there's the one guy who doesn't fake it. He does his job well, speaks clearly, and doesn't act impressed by someone's position. That kind of calm independence isn't defiance, but it feels like it. It disrupts the usual flow of power, and people in charge notice. This is the part that really shakes people. Most authority relies on being feared or followed without question. But a Sigma male doesn't fear people. He respects actions, he respects character, and if someone in charge lacks both, no title can fix that. It's not about being difficult, it's about being grounded. When a man knows who he is, he can't be bullied or guilted into silence. He doesn't need to shout or argue. His calm refusal to be controlled speaks louder than any outburst ever could. And for many in power, that's a real problem. Number 4. They are private in a world obsessed with exposure. We live in a world where people share everything. From what they ate for breakfast to every emotion they feel during the day, it's all out there. Oversharing has become the norm. People feel the need to constantly explain themselves, show proof of their lives, and keep others updated. But the Sigma male doesn't play that game. He stays private. And in today's world, that's enough to make people uneasy. He doesn't open up just because everyone else is talking. He doesn't post every move he makes. He doesn't explain his silence or justify his decisions, and that creates a mystery most people are not used to dealing with. When someone holds back, it makes others curious. But when that curiosity isn't satisfied, it turns into suspicion. Think about the guy at work who comes in, gets things done, and leaves. He doesn't hang around for small talk. He's polite, maybe even friendly, but he never gives too much away. People start wondering, what's his story? What's he hiding? Why doesn't he join in like the rest of us? The truth is, he's not hiding anything. He just doesn't see the need to put everything on display. And that level of privacy is foreign to people who rely on attention for validation. In friendships and relationships, this can be even more intense. Some people mistake quiet for disinterest. They think if someone isn't constantly sharing, they're cold or distant. But Sigma males are wired differently. They listen more than they speak. They observe. They store information without announcing it. That makes their presence powerful and unpredictable. The real fear comes from not being able to figure him out. You can't label him. You can't guess his next move. And in a world obsessed with control and exposure, that kind of mystery feels dangerous. But it's not danger, it's discipline. It's knowing that the most powerful things don't always need to be seen to be real. Number 5. They master chaos quietly. Most people panic when things fall apart. They raise their voices, rush decisions, or freeze up completely. Chaos brings out the worst in them. But Sigma males, they get quieter. While everyone else is scrambling, they're watching, thinking, calculating. They don't react just to feel in control. They wait until they actually are in control. Picture a workplace crisis. The team misses a deadline, clients are upset, and people are pointing fingers. There's confusion, tension, and noise. But there's always that one guy sitting in the corner, calm, focused, saying nothing. That's the Sigma. He's already working on a solution, while others are still complaining. He doesn't jump into the drama. He studies the chaos like a puzzle, and when he finally speaks, what he says usually shifts everything. This kind of quiet control unsettles people, especially emotional ones, because we've been taught that reacting fast equals leadership, that making noise means taking charge. So when someone handles chaos without flinching, it disrupts what people are used to. It exposes how many are just reacting, not thinking. Sigma males understand that panic is contagious, but so is calm. When they stay composed in high-pressure moments, it creates a strange kind of gravity. People start following their lead without even realizing it, not because they shouted the loudest, but because they held their ground when it mattered most. That ability to stay calm under pressure doesn't come from pretending. It comes from experience, from discipline, from being comfortable in uncomfortable situations. Sigma males don't need to show power. They are power when everything is falling apart. And that's why people both need them and fear them. Because when things get messy, the one who doesn't break or yell or run becomes the one everyone depends on. And not everyone is ready to be led by someone who doesn't follow the usual rules. Number 6. They keep their power hidden. There's something unsettling about someone who stays quiet while everyone else is busy proving themselves. Most people feel the need to announce what they're good at. They drop their qualifications into casual conversations. They show off every win, every achievement, every skill. But Sigma males operate differently. They keep their power hidden. Not because they're unsure of it, but because they don't need anyone to clap for it. They listen more than they speak. They observe everything, speak only when it matters, and keep their real strengths tucked away until they're actually needed. And that's what makes them so unpredictable. While others are busy performing, Sigma males are preparing quietly, without asking for attention. Picture this: a meeting filled with confident voices, arguments going back and forth, egos bouncing off the walls. And then someone says, "What do you think?" All eyes shift to the one person who said nothing the entire time. The Sigma. He leans forward, drops a single clear insight that cuts through the noise, and suddenly the room changes. That's power. And it hits harder when it comes from someone you underestimated. People get uncomfortable with what they can't figure out. And Sigma males don't give you anything extra to work with. They won't tell you how smart they are. They won't explain what they've mastered. But when the time comes, they deliver with precision. And it shocks everyone who thought they were just the quiet one. That surprise exposes a deeper fear in people, that all the noise they've been making hasn't added up to anything real. And here comes someone who barely spoke, yet outshines the rest. It's not magic, it's restraint. It's confidence without the costume. Sigma males don't just hold back their power, they time it. And when they release it, it speaks for itself. No need to prove anything, no need to impress, just results, clean and undeniable. Number 7, they reject entitlement culture. Most people grow up thinking the world owes them something. A good job because they have a degree, respect because they showed up, success because they tried. And when things don't go their way, they complain. They blame. They wait for someone to fix it. But Sigma males, they don't move like that. They reject the whole idea of entitlement. They don't expect a reward just for existing. They don't wait around hoping someone will notice their potential. They don't whine when life gets hard. They put their head down and handle it. That kind of mindset makes people uncomfortable, especially the ones who are used to being coddled. In everyday life, you'll see this contrast clearly. While others are stuck talking about how unfair everything is, the Sigma is already 3 steps ahead, building something, learning something, making progress quietly. He doesn't need perfect conditions. He creates movement in the middle of setbacks. Take a group project, for example. Most people want to be praised for the little they did. If the outcome is poor, they blame the group, the teacher, or the system. But the Sigma male focuses on what he could have done better. He takes full responsibility for his lane. No excuses, no finger-pointing. This makes others defensive. Because when someone takes full ownership of their life, it forces you to look at how much you've been avoiding your own. Sigma males don't talk about how things should be. They work with how things are. And they don't ask, "Why me?" They ask, What's next? Their refusal to sit in self-pity exposes the mindset gap between them and the rest. While most seek comfort, the Sigma seeks growth. And that quiet, steady grind, without applause, without drama, makes others feel exposed, because deep down they know they could be doing more too. That's why Sigma males are respected, resented, and sometimes feared. Not because they shout the loudest, but because they live like the world owes them nothing, and that's exactly why they rise. Number 8. They can make you feel exposed without saying a word. Have you ever felt uncomfortable around someone who barely says a thing? Not because they're rude, not because they're confrontational, but because somehow just being around them makes you feel like you're being seen a little too clearly. That's the silent power Sigma males carry. They don't need to call you out. They don't need to ask tough questions. All they do is observe, and that's where the tension begins. Their presence alone holds up a mirror. Not to your looks, but to your habits, your insecurities, your contradictions. And it's not about judgment, it's about awareness. When someone like that is in the room, you start to notice all the things you've been avoiding in yourself. Picture a friend group where everyone constantly brags, complains, or seeks approval. Then there's one guy who sits back, watches, and says nothing. His silence doesn't mean he doesn't notice, it means he's processing. He's reading patterns, not personalities. And without trying, he makes people self-conscious. They start wondering, why isn't he reacting? What's he thinking? Did I say too much? People who depend on noise to distract themselves from inner work can't stand that stillness, because it reveals what's real. It exposes how much of their identity is wrapped in performance. Sigma males don't perform. They show up exactly as they are. That calm presence creates a quiet pressure. It whispers, are you being real or just loud? And that kind of exposure, where no words are spoken but you still feel seen, can be powerful. Even healing, if you're ready for it. But for many, it's uncomfortable. It strips away the act. It removes the room for excuses. It shows the truth without dressing it up. That's the Sigma's gift. Their silence doesn't create distance. It creates reflection. And sometimes the scariest thing isn't being criticized. It's being quietly understood. Number 9. They attract loyalty without manipulation. There's a kind of man who doesn't chase followers, yet people naturally follow him. He doesn't demand loyalty, he earns it. That's the Sigma male. His influence isn't loud, flashy, or forced. It comes from how he carries himself, the way he speaks only when necessary, the way he leads by example, not by pressure. And the respect he gets, it's not because he's the loudest in the room, it's because he's the most grounded. In everyday life, think of the guy who never tries to impress but somehow always earns trust. He doesn't insert himself into every conversation. He's not trying to be the leader. But when things get serious, people turn to him. They want his input. They follow his lead, not because they're scared of him or dazzled by him, but because they believe in him. This quiet kind of leadership shakes people who are used to control, especially the ones who only feel powerful when others are beneath them. These are the alphas who need to be seen, heard, obeyed. They use charm, fear, or pressure to stay in charge. So when someone comes along who builds real loyalty without using any of those tools, it messes with their entire strategy. Sigma males don't need to dominate to be effective. They don't manipulate people to stay close. They let people choose, and somehow people stay, because that freedom creates genuine respect. And that kind of connection can't be faked. It's not about being cold, it's about being real. When someone doesn't try to control you but still makes you want to show up, that's power. The kind of power that threatens anyone who thinks leadership is about having the loudest voice or the biggest ego. Sigma males remind people that respect isn't demanded, it's earned. And the ones who depend on manipulation hate that reminder the most. Number 10. They know the difference between attention and influence. There's a big difference between being seen and being remembered. Most people chase visibility. They want likes, retweets, shout-outs, applause. They want to be noticed every hour of the day. But Sigma males move differently. They're not interested in putting on a show. They're focused on something far deeper: impact, real influence, the kind that lasts long after the noise fades. In today's world, attention is cheap. You can buy followers. You can go viral for doing something ridiculous. You can talk a lot and say nothing, and many do. But Sigma males don't care about being everywhere. They care about being effective. Their goal isn't to be popular, it's to be respected. Think about it like this. A Sigma male could walk into a room, say one sentence, and leave everyone thinking about it for days. Meanwhile, someone else might talk for hours and be forgotten by morning. That's the difference. One is loud, the other is felt. The people addicted to attention don't understand that kind of energy. It bothers them, because they spend all their time trying to stay relevant, while this one man, who barely speaks, has more influence without even trying. And the worst part? He doesn't care if you notice. On social media, in school, at work, in life, it's always the same pattern. The Sigma isn't interested in quick reactions. He's building something lasting. His words are chosen. His actions are calculated. He's not looking to trend. He's looking to change the game. That quiet commitment to depth over drama exposes something a lot of people don't want to admit, that most of what they do is for show. And when they come across someone who doesn't need an audience to matter, it shakes them. Sigma males don't crave attention. They create ripple effects. That's what makes them powerful, and that's exactly why they're feared. Number 11. Their silence isn't weakness, it's calculation. Silence makes people nervous, not because it's rude, but because it creates space. And space reveals things. In most conversations, silence feels like a gap that must be filled. But when a Sigma male goes quiet, he's not lost. He's observing. He's letting others show their hand. He's studying not just the words being said, but the intentions behind them. People mistake silence for weakness. They think if you're not speaking, you must not know what's going on. But that's only true for those who use talking to cover up their confusion. Sigma males don't need to do that. They use silence like a tool, a shield, a weapon. And by the time others catch up, he's already several steps ahead. Picture a meeting where everyone's trying to out-talk each other, trying to sound smart, to take control. Then there's one man sitting back, listening. He doesn't interrupt. He watches how people respond, who avoids eye contact, who tries too hard. And when he finally speaks, his words land heavy because they're rooted in clarity, not noise. That silence before he speaks, that was strategy. In daily life, most people speak to prove something. The Sigma speaks to change something. And when he doesn't speak, it's not because he has nothing to say, it's because it's not time to say it yet. That kind of control over emotion, timing, and expression makes people feel exposed. It makes them feel like they're being watched by someone who already knows how the story ends. Because often he does. And that's the fear. The fear of being figured out by someone who hasn't even said a word. The fear that someone who's not performing might actually be the one in control. That's the unsettling power of a Sigma male's silence. It doesn't beg to be understood. It understands you. In conclusion, have you ever noticed how the person who says the least often has the strongest impact? The one who doesn't need attention, doesn't ask for approval, but still somehow holds the room? That's the quiet force of a Sigma male. And yes, it makes people uncomfortable. They're feared not because they threaten anyone directly, but because they expose something deeper. They reveal how much of our world runs on insecurity, performance, and empty noise. While others try to be liked, chosen, or seen, the Sigma just lives, fully, freely, without needing anyone to hand him permission, and that kind of presence throws off the balance. People can't figure him out. They can't influence him. They can't pin him to a category that makes them feel safe. And that's what makes him powerful. If this sounds like you, then understand this. Your stillness is not weakness. Your silence is not invisibility. Your refusal to play by shallow rules is exactly why you stand out without trying. You weren't made to follow. You weren't built to please. You're here to move differently, and that difference is your strength. So don't let the discomfort of others make you question yourself. Keep your standards. Keep your solitude. Keep showing up with clarity, not noise. You may not be understood by everyone, but you'll be remembered by the right ones. There's nothing louder than someone who stays true to themselves in a world that keeps trying to rewrite them. That's why Sigma males are feared. And that's exactly why they're needed. Stay sharp, stay solid, keep walking your own path. Thank you, watching brothers.